Used to be my mentor. Oh, we only just started recording. That's a shame that wasn't on. Never mind. We'll have it on for tomorrow. That was my old mentor, Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor was an extraordinary man. Put a 1 in the chat box if you've heard of Bob Proctor before, because that's going to save a lot of time if you have. But if you haven't, it doesn't matter. But Bob Proctor was an extraordinary man. Yeah. Some of you have done that. Someone said yes, someone said no. That's brilliant. So what are we actually going to be going through today? Okay, what we're going to be going through is this. The starting point. And surprise, surprise, that's actually what that video was called. And I didn't find that video until after we'd named what this is all about. I'm an ex-athlete, not a brilliant athlete, but pretty good. And I was thinking of starting blocks, like they have in the Olympics for the 100 meters in the starting blocks. And Sophie didn't quite like that. She didn't get it. So I said, how about the starting point? Can you cope with that? She said, yes. So that became the starting point. And then I found that video. Things seem to align at the right time, which is really powerful. So this is what we're going to be going through. We've got 5 days of all this material, which is completely free. I'm going to be completely transparent and open and honest with you now. You can ask us any questions. We'll give you an answer if we can. This isn't a sales pitch. It's to share information with you. But if you stay with us right until the end, you may decide, hey, that guy knows a little bit of stuff. Maybe he can help me. There's one person amongst us already who I've already helped for the last 6 months with this content, and it's made a massive change in his life, and maybe he'll tell you about it. Don't want to put him on the spot. So today we're going to be talking about goals and decision making. You've made a decision today to be here, and I applaud you for that, because there'll be people that were registered that haven't turned up, and they were umming and ahhing. They haven't made a decision. Well, in fact, they have made a decision. They've made a decision not to turn up. Tomorrow, we're going to be going into your habits and limiting beliefs. On the Wednesday, we're going to be talking about your self-image and taking action. On Thursday, we're going to be talking about how to stop reacting to circumstances and how you can be proactive. So important that is. Just think about those times in your life when you might have overreacted to a situation and then regretted it later. We're going to help you around that. We're also going to help you with your attitude. You're going to be really surprised as to what actually attitude is. You might have understood the attitude of teenagers if you've got kids. Yeah, the knuckle dragging teenagers as soon as they reach 13, the knuckles are dragging on the floor. Not bothered. Were any of you teenagers? I certainly was. I stayed a teenager until I was into my 50s. We're also going to talk about getting over your fears, because fears are the things that hold us back. And just very quickly on fear, we're only born with 2 fears. The rest of them we've learned. Okay, so that's what we're going to be covering through the course of this next 5 days. We'll be going into great detail on each of these aspects. And as Sophia pointed to, you've got a workbook. And in there, we're going to be asking you to ask some questions of yourselves. Because if I was to say to you now that you're perfect and you've got everything inside you to achieve whatever you want in life, give me a 1 if you agree with me, or a 2 if you think I'm talking rubbish. Let's just see where you're at with this. Let's see what sort of level we're talking to. Do you believe me when I say you've got everything inside you to achieve anything that you want, or do you think that's a load of rubbish? A few ones. We've had a no. That's great. Well done for being honest. Yes. Got the workbook. 2s. We've got 1 or 2. Most people are saying yes. That's brilliant. That means I don't have to do too much persuading of you, to persuade you to believe yourself rather than the BS story that you're probably giving yourself. So we were born in God's image. I'm not going to get religious at all. You can call it God. You can call it Allah. You can call it spirit. You can call it the universe, whatever name that you want to give this collective consciousness, whether you believe in that or not, is entirely up to you. I'm not here to prove or defend anything, but I believe that there is a collective consciousness. I was brought up to believe that that was God, and that's my belief. So we were born in God's image, therefore that's perfection, isn't it? But then we tend to take over. We get this little thing called an ego. And as Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer, I call him Uncle Wayne, talks about, he says ego stands for edge God out. And he says, all right, God, you've done a good job up to now. We just popped out the womb. You've done a good job up to now. I'll take over from here because I know better than you. And that's what ego means to me. Right, so let's go back to sharing this screen. Because you don't know me from Adam. You don't know Sophie from Adam. Well, some of you know me. And that's me. There's two pictures of me there, the before and after. And there's also a beautiful picture there of Sophie. So that's me when I reached my peak. I felt that I'd reached my peak when that photograph was taken. That's when I was at the highest point of my academic career, when I was an 11-year-old at primary school. I was really brainy. I was being selected for entrance exams for really posh schools where I was going to go with a scholarship. I didn't pass. Maybe I failed on purpose, I don't know. But I was also very good at sport. I was also very cheeky, as that picture shows. And then from there, when I went across to the big school, and then when I moved from one side of the country to the other, that's when I started getting bullied. And that's when things started to change for me. To cut a long story short, I've had a very varied life. I was born in 1959. Can you believe that? 1959. You're speaking to somebody that's pre-baby boomers now. So I'm 64 in about 3 or 4 weeks' time. So any of you that know the Beatles song, When I'm 64, I'm just about to start having that as my theme tune for the next 12 months. So I've been around the block a little bit. I've been married twice. I've been divorced twice. I've been in business once, bus once. I've been in the forces. I was nearly a professional footballer. I've represented my country once. I went to the World Championships in my age group at duathlon, and I came 35th in the world. Sounds really good, doesn't it? But you had to pay your own way there. So I'm guessing there was a lot of people that were better than me that didn't bother to go, or maybe they didn't qualify. So I had a lot of variation. I retired coming up 10 years ago. I was still married at that stage, and this was going to be great because now I could just go out training every day and get to the World Triathlon Championships in Hawaii. That was my goal. Unfortunately, my ex-wife had different ideas and we really started arguing, and we split up a year later. And at that point, I discovered that British law says that when you split up, you're a partnership, so everything's jointly and severally liable. That means she got to share everything that I'd got, and I'd got to share everything that she'd got. And she'd got debts, and I'd got savings. So you can see how that worked out. So I started working again, and I decided that what I wanted to do was coach people, because I've really coached people all the way through my life. I was already an athletics coach. I'd created a triathlon club that's 10 years old, April the 1st next year. And it's the second largest triathlon club in the whole of the county, which is pretty big. And I started coaching professionally. I also started teaching Pilates, which I still do. I no longer coach athletes, but I got involved in mindset because I wanted to know what the hell had happened to me, where all these patterns in my life were repeating themselves, where it was boom and bust, where I was doing really well and then I'd lose everything. And then I'm having to pick myself up again. It's also made me very, very cynical. And this is, Sophie came onto the scene after I'd started doing a bit of mindset work. And when we first got together, so we've been together 7 years, we're actually getting married next year. But for the first 6 years, I said, I will never, ever, ever get married. And I proposed to her this year, which absolutely floored her. That was in front of about 40 other mindset coaches. And I had a tear in my eye. And that is one of the beauties of the stuff that I'm talking about today, that it can change, it can rip down all those barriers if you're prepared to let it. This stuff that I'm sharing with you is only going to work for you if you want it. Doesn't matter how many books you read, doesn't matter how many of these sessions you come to, doesn't matter how many seminars you attend or videos you watch on YouTube. If you don't want it to happen, it's not going to happen. So that's me, that's Sophie. Sophie joined me as a partner in the business. She originally asked if she could buy her way into the business, and I said, no, it's mine. Again, those silly beliefs that I'd got. And now we're 50-50 partners in everything. And that's a beautiful thing for me. And that didn't work. So I'm going to stop the share. And we're going to just jump onto here, because I'm going to share with you what I'm actually wanting you to get from what we're doing today. So my goal for you is to go to the right boards to start off with. So my mission tonight, got 3 missions. This is the X-Forces coming out. You always have to repeat your mission. Number 1, to help you understand what a worthy goal is and how to set yourself a goal that has meaning and value to you. Because remember, I said at the beginning, this is all about you. And it's got to be something that inspires you into action. Because if it doesn't inspire you into action, there's no point at all in having it. All you can do is you say, oh, I've got a goal. You're not doing anything towards it. You're not going to change a thing. The second thing that I want you to do, I want you to help you understand what decision making is, okay, and why all the successful people can do it, and the vast majority of people just get by. They don't really understand what it's all about by making a decision. And then the third thing is to explain to you, and this is where you might have a little bit of resistance, you've got some homework to do. It's going to get you into action. Because as it says there, it doesn't matter how much you know, because no action leads to no change. So let's get stuck in, shall we? A decision. So this is all about goals now. The first thing is you've got to make a decision that you want to have a goal. And this is a quote from Napoleon Hill. Put into the box whether you've heard of Napoleon Hill. And so if you can keep an eye on these for me. Those who reach decisions promptly and definitely know what they want and generally get it. The leaders in every walk of life decide quickly and firmly. That is the major reason why they're leaders. The world has a habit of making room for the person whose words and actions show that they know where they're going. Napoleon Hill wrote an absolutely amazing book called Think and Grow Rich in the early 1900s. You're also going to have a vision. And this is where I'm going to give you a license now. I'm going to give you Harry Potter's magic wand. Or for those that are my age, you might remember Sooty with his little magic wand. Imagine that you've got access to all the resources you'll ever need and you can have anything that you want. What would you go out and get? What do you really want? And this is really important now. Don't give any thought as to how you're going to get it. Your only objective is to clearly define what you want. So the only limitations on what you're going to start writing down later on tonight is going to be the limits of your imagination. Because I've already told you that you can have anything that you want. And don't worry if you haven't got the resources. Maybe you haven't got the knowledge to do what it is that you want to do, but it's all going to come to you. You can have anything that you want. Might be peace on earth. If you want it, you can have it. Power of your imagination. So this is what we're going to be going through. And I've hit the wrong goal again. Stop share. It doesn't jump. It doesn't jump. I think I've sussed out what I'm doing wrong. Okay, so the goals that I'm going to be talking about, we basically break them down into A-type, B-type, and C-type goals. Now, an A-type goal will be something that you've done before. Have you got things where you've set yourself goals before? You might be an athlete. You might have wanted to run a marathon in, say, 4 hours or 3 hours or whatever, and you've done it before. You know you can do it again. Or you might have a goal to lose a stone in weight, or 15 pounds or 5 kilos, and you might have done it before. That's what we call an A-type goal. Something that you've done before, something that you know you can smash. Absolutely no point in having an A-type goal because you're going to get bored with it very, very quickly. Then we've got B-type goals. B-type goals are goals that are going to stretch you a little bit. These are the goals that if everything goes right for you, maybe I'll take you back to sport. I'll take you back to marathon because I've run a few of them and I've got one of my very good friends who's recently run a marathon who's watching. So maybe you're capable of running a marathon in 3.5 hours and your goal is to achieve 3 hours 15, which means you're running nearly a minute a mile faster to achieve that goal, which is a big ask. But if everything goes right, maybe you could do it. But that'd be a B-type goal where the motivation's there, but maybe you're just getting a little bit bored with it. Maybe it's not going to be enough to get up and get out on those dark mornings. Yeah. So you need to set your goal that's going to inspire you. Okay. I was speaking with a really good friend of mine earlier on this afternoon, and we were talking about fear, and I was talking about the Olympics and Usain Bolt. Have you all heard of Usain Bolt? Hopefully there'll be a few heads nodding. Probably one of the greatest athletes that modern times has ever seen. When he stepped on the track, he knew he was going to win. So the fear that he felt, he didn't describe it as fear, he described it as excitement. But the chemical changes and the adrenaline and the hormones and everything that was going through his body were exactly the same as those who were looking at him and going, God, that's Usain Bolt. And they'd be scared of him because they know he's going to win. So they're going in for second place or third place or maybe get to the final. So they've already put themselves a barrier on, but they're feeling fear. And if you're like me, being an athletics coach, when I watch the super slow-mos of them running it after they've done the race, you can see Usain Bolt's all nice and relaxed and is loose. Yet the guys that are striving to get close to him, you can see every sinew sticking out of the neck, their arms, everything's tense as they're striving really hard. Where does that show up in your life? Does it show up with the way that you bring your kids up when they're not doing what you'd like them to do? When you're trying to get them up to go to school, when you're trying to get them enthused in something? Does it show up at work? Are you a leader of people? Do you sometimes struggle to get the people that you're leading to get some enthusiasm? Is that your thing? Or do you just find yourself overreacting to stuff? These are the things that we're talking about. So set yourself a C-type goal, something that's really big that's going to stretch you. I've got a C-type goal. My C-type goal is so big that I may not even achieve it in my lifetime. I've got lots of other goals in between, but I may not get that C-type goal because it is massive. It's massive. It's global. Basically, I want to create a university to teach people how to become successful rather than just get a degree in maths or a degree in law. I want to show people how they can be successful. May not happen in my lifetime, but I'm working towards it. So I'm working towards my C-type goal, and I'm going to hit the other goals on the way through to it. So that's what we're talking about with these goals. Now, let me share my screen with you again. I don't want to be killing you by death by all these slides because there's nothing worse. I've gone the wrong way. So this is what you have to do when you're looking to put a goal together. The first of 4 steps. The first one, I want you to go to Fantasy Island. I want you to open up your mind and just think about those things that you want. Let's get a little bit of emotion in the room. Where is the one place that you've always wanted to go on holiday? Or maybe 2 or 3 places that you want to go on holiday. How long would you want to go on holiday for? Will it be 1 week, 2 weeks? Will it be 6 months? Are you going to take a couple of years out and just travel? That's just one thing. Whereabouts would you really want to live? What county? What country? How about you have 2 or 3 homes spread around the world so that you can always be where the climate's the nicest? So you're not going to be limited with where you're going. When you're traveling to these places, are you going to go economy? No, you're not. You're going to go first class. In fact, you might even go with your own private jet, where you charter a jet and they just take you, and there's no queuing up. Everything's served for you. What's the limit of your imagination? So I've given you permission now to really fantasize about what you want. As it says there, not what you think you can achieve, not what other people think you should have. And by that, I'm talking about your family, your spouse, your kids, your parents, aunties, uncles, even people that you work with, people that have an opinion on what they think you should have. No, what you want. Be selfish. It's not being selfish, but have a goal that really means something to you. Once you've built that fantasy, now you've got to start getting to work. The first things you've got to be able to ask yourself are two really important questions. Am I able to do it? Have I got the ability to do that goal if I've got everything in place for me? And the most important one, am I willing? Am I willing? Because if you're not willing, don't even have a goal. You're not going to do anything with it. So you've got to be able to say to yourself, to those two questions, yes. Because the dream's so big, the rewards are so fantastic that the effort that I've got to put in to get those goals is worth it. But if the effort that you've got to put in to get those goals isn't worth it, you're not going to do it, are you? As soon as you do that, it becomes a theory. It's no longer a fantasy, it's a theory. And it becomes a goal. And for a goal to become a proper goal, you need to put a date on it. However, there's a proviso with this. The goal might be so big that you can't put a goal on it. Because if you put a goal on it, you start getting close to that goal, you might be putting yourself under too much pressure. So just relax a little bit with the date. But if it's a smaller goal, set a date on it. So what are you going to do by Christmas this year? What are you going to do by Christmas this year? What are you going to do by December the 31st that's going to challenge you, that's going to stretch you where you haven't been so far this year? You see, we've got probably 5 or 6 weeks left of the year, maybe 7 weeks, where you can make a massive difference in your life if you just make the decision tonight, and I really hope that you do. So put a date on it and then take massive action. Once you do that and you get into action, then your dream will become a fact. Because whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, he can achieve. And as Bob told me, if you can hold it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. Because everything that you've got around you right now started off as a thought in somebody's head. All the technology that we're using to speak to one another, we're not here face to face, are we? We're spread all over the globe. So all that started off in somebody's mind. It's really powerful when you start to think about these things, about what can go on and what doesn't. So that's what I want you to really think about. Thrive on that goal. Get that fantasy. Get some emotion attached to it. Do you want to take the kids or the grandkids to Disneyland or somewhere else? Do you want to create a charity that's going to help people across the world? I've got friends of mine that are helping charities in Africa building schools. Yeah, I'd love to get involved in that. And it doesn't have to be giving money. It can be giving you time, which time is something that you can't get back. So these things are really important. So important. And we can achieve so much just by having that goal. Now, I want to share some statistics with you now. If I can get the bloody thing to work. Here we go. Statistics. 83% of the world's population don't have goals. Wow, there's a surprise. 83%. The vast majority of people don't have goals. If you walk down the street tonight, wherever you live, just stop somebody and say, have you got a goal? And they think you're a weirdo. Some do have goals. 14% of the population have ideas in their head. So it's not a goal because it's only in the head. For it to be a goal, it's got to be written down. 3% of them have them written down. So I don't know how many people we've got on this call tonight. Let's say there's 30 that are physically here. There's one of you that's got your goal written down. But out of that, there's only 0.1% of them carrying their cards with them. And I'm one of those. 92% of people don't achieve their New Year's resolutions. 92%. Put a 1 in the box if you've had a New Year's resolution that you've actually achieved. Let's see how many ones we can get in. We seem to have a lot of Joanne Taylors still. She's very popular, isn't she? I can't see any ones going into the chat box. Haven't any of you achieved a New Year's resolution? I haven't. Oh, Charlotte has. Oh, hey, thumbs up. Yeah, that's brilliant. So that's one of us has achieved a New Year's resolution. What was it? To get out of January the 1st without killing the kids? Yeah, easy goal. Just go for a walk for the day. I've achieved my New Year's resolution. There's my goal card. I keep my goal card with me. I keep it in my pocket. Every time I touch that, I start thinking about my goal. I'm impressing onto my mind the things that I want, and that keeps me into action. Get yourself a goal card. Keep it with you. Check it, read it, put it in a few places. Read it in the morning, read it at night, read it during the day. Get a goal card. Can't stress how important that is. Okay, so I've jumped a slide because that was going to be the next one. On my goal card, it always say, I am so happy and grateful now that. So get emotionally involved with your goal. It's got to scare you and excite you at the same time. It's got to be something you've never done before. And you need to look at it multiple times each day through repetition. There's only there's 2 ways that we can change a belief. One is through an emotional impact. Say, for example, what happened at the World Trade Towers, as the Americans called 9/11, but actually it was the 11th of September, because I'm English, British. Okay. And the other one is through a constant spaced repetition. And this is where most of it comes from. Through that repetition. I'm going to keep on repeating things because you're not going to hear it the first time. Where we talk about learning a new skill, this goes back to Chinese wisdom. They talk about that you've got to do something 10,000 times before you master it. 10,000 times. Did you walk the first time you tried? Did you ride a bike the first time that you tried? Did you swim the first time you got in the water? Did you marry the first person that you met? Probably not. Did you have failure along the way? Yeah, I guess you did. I've certainly had my fair share. Okay. I'm so happy and grateful now that. It has to be in the present tense. Write it as though you've already got it. Okay. That's really important. So you're writing it in the present tense. You're putting yourself to the place that I've already got it. All I've got to do now is go and do the work to get it. And that's a very difficult concept for people to get their head around. Just shake your head, nod your head, give us some feedback on that. What do you reckon? Is that something that's believable? That if you write it down as though you've already done it, you can have it? I can see some doubt. Good. Because I want you to question everything that I say. I don't want you to take everything I'm saying just as read. I want you to question it. You shouldn't take anything that anybody tells you as read. You should question it. Find out for yourself. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so that's enough about goals. Now we're going to come on to the really important part. So goals are important, but this next bit is, wow. This is where it really gets going now. That is if I can get the damn thing to move. Here we go. Decision. Decisions are vital. Are you good at making decisions? I doubt it. Okay. That's me projecting onto you, but I doubt it because the vast majority of people don't know what it means to make a decision. A great desire for freedom brings freedom. A great desire for wealth brings wealth. So if you want to make a decision, believe that you want to make a decision. Lack of decision is a major cause of failure. Everyone's got an opinion, but in the end, it's your opinion that swings your world. So what do you want? Not what the wife wants, not what the husband wants or partner, not what the kids want. What do you want? A made-up mind attunes itself to tremendous extra power, whereas indecision often begins in youth. How to avoid it and help others avoid it. Okay, so if you've got a mind that's made up, you've got more power. But indecision, which often begins in youth, is going to have you avoiding making decisions. And it's going to be helping others avoid it as well. So you've got to decide, when do you want it? When do you want to make whatever it is that you want? Analyze the events which have led to great decisions, and you give yourself a lifelong guide to decided and effective action in every part of your life. So when will you get it? You see, all the great leaders of the world have been very, very good at making decisions. The vast majority of people are not very good at making decisions at all. Now, can you make a decision? Can you make a committed decision? Do you make your decision yourself, or do you seek counsel from your friends and from your family? I made a massive financial commitment in February. What year are we in? 23. In February of 22. A massive financial decision. I took that decision on behalf of me and Sophie. And to be honest, I was scared to death when I had to tell her what I'd done. So I made a decision because I knew it was the right thing to do. I didn't need Sophie. I didn't need her opinion on this decision, although it was going to affect her. But I knew that Sophie would probably try and talk me out of it. Are you nodding your head, Sophie? Yeah, she's nodding her head. She would have talked me out of it. You've got to make a decision for yourself. Seek counsel, fair enough. But make the decision for yourself. And most people can't do that. If you can learn how to make a decision, it can change your life in that instant. And I know this for a fact because I've done it. And it only happened recently, where magical things started happening. And it was very recent. So we had a big thing go wrong in the house, where all of a sudden I'm faced with a huge bill. To me, it was a huge bill. It might not be huge to you, because everything's relative. Something's only big if it's compared to something that's small, and something's only small if it's compared to something that's big. But to me, it was big. And I had to make a decision that I was going to do something about it, or I was going to let the thing that happened win. But I went, no, I'm going to make this work for us. This has been given us to put us into action. And as soon as I made that decision, weird things started happening. My mindset changed instantly. I started looking for solutions, and solutions were coming at me from all directions. And I was following them up. I was going into action with them. And I felt lighter, and I felt enthusiastic. So all these things that I've been told for so many years, all of a sudden came true, because now I've gone into action. And that can happen for you as well. It's a beautiful feeling. Just make a committed decision, and then everything starts coming towards you. It might not come from the direction that you're expecting it, but it will come to you. Doors will open, but you've still got to walk through the door. You know, you're not going to have somebody holding the door open for you saying, after you, sir. You've got to get through and do that for yourself. You've got to do it without other people's influences. Have any of you ever heard of the term SNIOP? SNIOP, SNIOP. A motivational speaker from the 70s and 80s mentioned this an awful lot. A guy called Zig Ziglar. Anybody heard of a guy called Zig Ziglar? Yeah, brilliant, Zig Ziglar. Fantastic accent, full of enthusiasm. A SNIOP is somebody that's susceptible to the negative influences of other people. Are you a SNIOP? Are you susceptible to the negative influences of other people? Oh, you don't want to do that. Why are you wasting your time with that? What makes you think you can do that? That's a SNIOP. I've been a SNIOP for most of my life. Who else has been a SNIOP at some point in their life? Oh, we've got one or two of you that are brave enough to admit it. The rest of you are in denial. Guarantee it. Okay, so SNIOPs. There are people that are very good at making decisions, and these are the people that earn 6- and 7-figure incomes. Something that's common amongst all very successful people is that they make decisions quickly and they change them very, very slowly, if at all. So they make the right decision most of the time. They're going to fail sometimes as well, by the way. They don't always make the right decision. Whereas the vast majority of people, the 97% of people that we saw earlier, the ones that haven't got the goals written down, if you've not got your goal written down, you're in that 97%. In fact, you're in the 99%, because there's only 0.1% that have got the goals written down. If that's you, you're going to be somebody that takes a long time to make a decision. And you'll probably change your mind frequently. And you'll probably change your mind quickly. Which way shall I go? Where should we go? Where should we go shopping? Shall we go for a drink? Where should we go to? And all those things. Does that resonate with any of you? Certainly has done me. Or you might be out with a group of friends. Where are we going to go to? And nobody can make a bloody decision. And then eventually somebody will say, oh, just follow me. And then everybody follows like sheep. Meh. And they just follow because somebody's made a decision. Somebody's going to be a leader now. Okay, let's just have a quick check on here. Your whole life can be affected by your decisions. Your whole life will be affected by your decisions. Your decisions are either going to work for you or against you. And if you're not making decisions, you're making a decision not to make a decision. That's probably the easiest one to do. Now, we're not at fault for that. We have to take responsibility for it, but we're not at fault for it because we're taught through our educational system. Can you recall at any period through all your education where you were actually taught the importance and how to make a decision? Not seeing any nodding heads. Okay, we're not taught how to do it. Are we taught how to do it in the home by your parents? No. Are we taught it within the corporate environment? No. It's things that people don't really work on. There's no forethought for this. So we have to work it out for ourselves, which is why we struggle with it. We have to become disciplined. So to become good at making decisions, you have to practice making decisions because some of them are going to be royally wrong. Some of them are going to be really good. But the more you practice, it's like everything else. It will get better and better and better. When you can't make decisions, you've got all that chaos and turmoil going on in your mind. Should I, shouldn't I? My favourite line from my favourite band, Rush, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. Yeah, I like that, Will. And I like Rush too. Good band. So, think about that. That's thrown me off that. So, get yourself disciplined. Start getting yourself to make those decisions. And if it's a big decision and you're not ready to make a big decision yet, practice with some small ones. Am I going to have that glass of water tonight, or am I going to have beer? Am I going to have that extra slice of cake? Am I going to be at work on time? Am I going to give my all at work today? Am I going to enjoy myself today? Am I going to be happy today? That's a blooming decision. It's a choice. You can get up and feel glum, but it's a choice as to whether you're going to stay there or if you're going to move on. So there's lots of things that we can practice. Get rid of that conflict going on in your mind so that you've now got order in your mind. Order is the universe's first law. Think about the solar system. There's order, isn't there? So wherever there's order, we're moving, we've got progress. Look at your results. Your decisions are going to be reflected in your results. If you neglect your decision-making, you're doomed. How many of you can remember Dad's Army? We're doomed. If you neglect your decision-making, you are destined to stay in mediocrity and frustration and all those places it isn't very comfortable. So if you switch off now, you've made a decision. If you decide to stay, you've made a decision. I urge you to stay. You're going to become more active by making decisions. You're going to stop just living and just existing. You're actually going to start having the life that you really want to. So how do you stop not making decisions? Simple, just stop it. Okay. So what have the good decision makers got in common? they've all got a good self-image and they've all got confidence in themselves. What have the other people got in common? They're a little bit more like this. They haven't got that self-confidence to make the decision. They need other people to make the decision for them, which means that they're staying in that child state and they're waiting for somebody to parent them. So I was once coaching this wonderful lady who wanted me to help her with her marathon running. She said, just tell me what to do. I went, no, it don't work like that. I'm coaching you. You've got to have a say in it. No, I don't like doing that. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. I said, so what you're telling me is if it goes wrong, it's my fault? I went, yes. I went, no. Because she couldn't make a decision. So I had to force her into making a decision. There was a lot of resistance, I can promise you. Okay, so let's see what other things I've got written down here. Good decision makers are not scared of making mistakes because you're going to make mistakes. You can't avoid making mistakes. And the great thing about a mistake is you either view it as a mistake, oh, it's a disaster, or you go, it's a great learning opportunity. You see, with the goals, we don't just get the goal, it's who you become. What do you grow to actually enable you to get what it is that you want? I'm getting pretty close to the hour here, so I don't want to be holding people back too long. Decide right now where you are. So if something really bad happens in your life, okay, this is where I'm at. This is where I was a few weeks ago. This is where I'm at. What am I going to do about it? Make the decision, move forward. And don't just take my word for it. This stuff works, okay? So you accept where you are, but you don't have to like where you are, but you accept it. It's your reality. Now what are we going to do to shift it? So you got to decide whether you want the thing that you've got or do you want something else? Now, with a lot of these things that we're talking about here, and this is something that I actually learned yesterday. I was away with Sophie on a holistic mindset coaching weekend, and I've still got a coach. I will have a coach for the rest of my life because I need somebody to spot the things in me that I can con myself about. I can ignore them. So I've got a coach. Sophie's got a coach. I'm a coach. I coach other people. I've actually coached my coach. It's good, isn't it? But she spotted something in me and she said, where's that coming from? And she helped me to uncover from myself that I would struggle to stand up and tell you just how bloody good I am. What a really good coach I am. Because when I was a little kiddie, I was told, nobody likes a big head. Does that sound like it could be anywhere in your life that you've been told those things that have stayed with you all through your life, that you've not even been aware of because they're so deep inside you, a bit like an onion? See, I was holding the light down on myself. I couldn't stand up proudly and actually tell people that I was good. Because if I said I was good, I'm a big head and then people are not going to like me and I'm not going to have any friends. So it wasn't the fact that I was a big head, it's what being a big head meant. And big heads don't have any friends. So that means I'm going to be lonely. Think about these areas in your life where you've got some beliefs that will be maybe not your beliefs, but the beliefs of your parents or the beliefs of your grandparents. Mum, why do you always boil the cabbages until they go really soggy? Because that's how my mother cooked them. How many things are you doing in your life now that you've done because you've always done them that way? That's the way that you were shown by your parents, your grandparents, your aunties and your uncles. When you get dressed in the morning, how many of you put your right sock on first? Or put your left leg into your knickers first, or your underpants, or whatever you're wearing? Do you do the same every time? What do you do with your grandkids and your kids when you're teaching them how to get dressed? Do you tell your kids to brush the teeth in the morning and again in the evening? Or do you tell them to brush the teeth after every meal? See, even the foods that we like, we've been programmed with. We've been programmed with just so much from a very, very early age. So when you're thinking about these things, they might not actually be your beliefs. They might be somebody else's. And they're dead now. Okay, so think about that. Now, the most powerful people in the world, I'm talking about thought leaders here, not politicians, the most respected people in the world, whether they're scientists or theologians, they all agree on one thing. We become what we think about. How much time are you spending thinking about you? Start putting some figures into the chat box for me. Because you see, the more that you interact, there might be a prize at the end of the week to see who's going to be the most active person. Now you've got an incentive to start interacting. How much time of the day do you think you spend thinking? As a percentage? Not enough. Cake and beer, love. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 90 minutes, 100%. We know that one's a lie, don't we? Okay. Right. So we've got two areas of our mind. We don't think with our brain. We are not our brain. Our brain is just a switching station. Do any of you know where your mind is? Have you seen your mind? Has anybody ever seen your mind? So where is it? Is it in your hand? Is it in your head? Is it in your guts? Everybody talks about gut feeling. Does it live in your gut? I believe it's in every cell of your body. Lost my mind years ago. Yeah, I can believe that, Alan. So you consciously think about things about 3% of the day. Just 3%. The rest of the time, the subconscious mind is doing all the work for you. And if you don't believe me, you can go and check all this stuff out with the scientists, because the amount of information that's coming in, if you compare it to how a computer works, there's millions of bits of information going into the brain every second, and the brain is not powerful enough to process all that information, so it disregards it. And you can see things. I've seen examples of this on videos where there was a railway crossing, and the people, I was one of them, was told to check the crossing to make sure whether the crossing was cleared, and to count the number of people that went through with red jackets or something like that. And at the end of it, it said, how many of you saw the gorilla? And what happened is they got somebody in a gorilla suit to come out and wave at the camera like that and then walk off. Nobody saw the gorilla, because we'd been programmed to look for the people in red jackets. And there's another one where there was a team playing basketball, throwing the ball around all over the place. It might be netball. And again, the same thing came on. A gorilla came on, but also the team changed the shirt colours and the background changed colour, but none of it was recognised whilst we were watching it. It was only recognised when it was pointed out to us afterwards. That's going to happen to all of you as well. Things are happening around you that you're not even aware of. The brain is not strong enough to be able to absorb all that information. So we're only thinking 3% of the time. The rest of the time, the subconscious mind's doing all the work for us. Subconscious mind's telling you you're not worthy. Subconscious mind's telling you you're not good enough. You're too old. You're too young. You're too fat. You're too thin. You're too tall. You're too short. You're going bald. Got too much hair. You've got tattoos. You haven't got tattoos. We've got all this stuff going on, and we're saying all these things to ourselves. What makes you think you can tell people how to improve their mindset? That's what I used to say to myself. So because of that, we really struggle. This all comes back to decision making, because it's your self-image that's going to be defining just how good at making decisions you are. So that's about as much as I want to share with you tonight, because I don't really want to be overloading you with too much information. Because if I do, your head's going to explode. So when I come home from a weekend away doing constant work on mindset, really deep, heavy work, I'll have a hangover for a couple of days whilst my brain processes all that information that I get. And quite often I'm numb from the information that I've had to absorb. And then maybe 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, even years down the road, I go, that makes sense now. So some of the stuff that I've told you today might not make 100% sense to you. So we're coming to the glory bit now. This is the bit you've all been waiting for, I can tell. I can tell you've all been waiting for this moment. It's your homework. Hey, I know we've got a couple of teachers in the room. Your homework. And I don't want any excuses tomorrow. I don't want you saying that the dog ate it or you spilt a cup of tea on it. This is your homework for you. You don't have to hand it in, but you know whether you've done it or not. Task number 1, come up with 2 lists. The first one are the things that you personally want, and the second one are your professional wants or your business wants. Have 2 separate lists. I just want you to come up with the list. I don't want you to think for a second whether you can have it or not, or whether it's realistic. I just want you to come up with 2 lists. I want you to imagine that you're back to being a school kid and it's coming up to Christmas and you're being asked to write a list of the things that you want for Christmas. Myself, I used to go through the Kay's catalogue or the Littlewoods catalogue that had got about 30 pages of toys at the back, and I used to write them all out. So just write a shopping list out of the things that you want. That's going to get you to use your imagination. But I don't want you to think about it. I just want you to write it. Because if you start thinking about it, your logic is going to start coming in, and your paradigm, which we'll talk about later, is going to start saying, oh, you can't have that. What makes you think you can have that? Then I want you to write your new goal out on a goal card. You should be able to articulate this in 1 sentence. And I want you to look at it first thing in the morning, and then as often as you can throughout the day, and again, just as you go to bed. You see, when we're sleeping, our subconscious mind is still working. And if you give your subconscious mind an instruction, it will work on it through the day. If you're going away on holiday and you know that you've got to be up at maybe 3 o'clock in the morning or some other silly hour to get up in the morning, you set your alarm just in case. How many of you wake up before your alarm goes off? Because you've programmed the subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind will wake you up. If you give your subconscious mind an instruction to give you an answer through the night, you might wake up, have a pen and paper just at the side of your bed so you can write it down, you won't forget it. I've been given some ideas in the middle of the night and I thought, I'll remember that in the morning. Get up in the morning. Damn, what was it? What was it? Might have been a best-selling book that I've lost. Might have been a record. I don't know. So once you've done that, I want you to get a photograph of your goal and I want you to put it into the Starting Point Facebook group that you've all been invited to, or at least I hope you have. I know we've had 1 or 2 issues. So we've got a Facebook group, purely, it's a private group just for all you guys that are doing this work with us. And I want you to engage in that group because you're going to be sharing things that other people need to hear. There's going to be people that will be going, I can't do that. I'm not brave enough to do that. And you're going to lead the way. You're going to be the pioneer. So you're going to be helping other people and they're going to be helping you. This is what we call the power of the group. So those are the areas that I want you to look at. It's really powerful work. It can change your life. It's changed my life. It's pivoted 180 degrees. I've never been happier. I'm 64 in a few weeks' time. I want to continue doing this work until I draw my last breath. That's how powerful it is. And I'll do this whether I get paid or not, because I just love helping people. So if you want to be in a position where you've got complete control of your life, I've really given you 2 special things to think about today: your goals and making a decision. And making a decision isn't as easy as it seems, unless you tell yourself it's going to be really easy to do. Because if you start thinking it's going to be hard, guess what? It's going to be hard. We become what we think about. If you think you're going to be really successful, chances are you're going to be successful. But if you're a professional footballer and you think you're rubbish, you're never going to get selected for the first team, are you? If you're a runner and you think that everybody else is better than you, you're never going to beat them. So we have to think these things. Get your goals written down, start studying them, and also with those decisions, Here's one for you. I've just thought about this. This is over and above what's in the workbook. I want you to put into the Facebook group a decision that you've been putting off. How brave are you to do that? It can be anything. Might be starting a diet, or it might be asking somebody out for a date. In my case, asking Sophie to marry me, I put that off for 6 years because of some stupid beliefs that I'd got from because I was scared of being hurt again. Yeah, doesn't matter what it is. It's got to be real to you. But put it in the Facebook group. Let's see what everybody's feeling. What decision have you been putting off? It's really powerful stuff. I want to thank you all for spending your time with us and for investing time in yourself. And I want to applaud you for spending time on yourself. And this is what we're going to be doing tomorrow night. We're going to be looking at your habits. We're going to be looking at your limiting beliefs. These are also known as paradigms. They control almost all areas of your life. And it's going to be a fantastic evening. That's what we're going to be doing tomorrow night. And we might even pick up on one or two of the things that that people have been putting into the Facebook group. Because you see, it's the power of the group that's going to help everybody. And you're going to get as much out of this as you put into it. And I'm not lying. Yeah, you can think I'm a liar. I'm not really bothered because I know I'm not. You might think I'm talking drivel. I'm not bothered whether you think that or not because I know I'm not. And until you can prove that I am, or you can prove that I'm lying, just take it that what I'm saying is spot on. Because where I've got all this information from is from material like this, a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He was mentored by the wealthiest man on the planet at the time, the first billionaire in the world. Another brilliant book that I've used an awful lot, Psycho-Cybernetics, written by a guy that was a plastic surgeon. It's all about self-image. I'm surrounded by books. This is where I got all my information from. You can go out and you can get all these books. And you can learn it the hard way, or you can learn from somebody that's learned it already and from a support group. So there's all this information. I am surrounded by books. I love books. And the son here is watching today, and she created a book club to share books. Didn't you, Charlotte? Yeah. Charlotte loves books too. Don't think she loves them as much as me, but we might have an argument about that. So get yourself involved. Think about your goals. Think about those decisions that you've been putting off. Step into action. Start doing something about it. Make a decision. You're going to be back here tomorrow night because it's going to hurt you tomorrow. We're going to be talking about all those habits that aren't serving you. We're going to start talking about those limiting beliefs, like that limiting belief. I've been a mindset coach for 6 years. It was only yesterday when I found out for myself that I was not shining my light because I was scared of being classed as a big head. Because that's what my mum said to me when I was about 4 years old. If you show off, you're a big head, nobody's going to like you. So I thought, if I tell everybody how good I am, tell my truth, nobody's going to like me. Nearly 60 years, I believed that. Are you going to let things hold on to you for as long as that? It's the power. Anyway, thank you so much for being with us. I really do mean that. Me and Sophie have loved it. I've got a bit of a sore throat now. And I hope you've got an awful lot from this. And I'm really looking forward to sharing this fantastic information with you tomorrow. There is going to be a recording. Is there anything I've missed, Sophie? There's bound to be.
No, I think that's it. There will be a recording going out with a bit of a recap with all the information that you need, the links. There will be a new Zoom link for tomorrow, so that'll be in the email after having a quick word with Charlotte by WhatsApp what we've been going on. So keep an eye out for that email. It'll be going out tomorrow morning, and get involved in the Facebook group.
I have never seen so many Joanne Taylors.
You never know, she might be with us tomorrow. I'll have a word.
Which one though? Which one? It's been delightful. Thank you for putting those emojis up. They help me as well. Yeah. Because when I'm just looking at you, I'm thinking, are they actually listening? Are they engaged, or are they watching Coronation Street? I don't know. I'm just here to help you. That's all I want to do. Thank you so much. It's been brilliant, and we'll see you tomorrow night. See you later.